רואה שהרקע הוא שזו ילדה בת 12, ששומרת על האח שלה. היא נמצאת כנראה ביישוב בדרום. היא התחילה לכתוב לי שהיא שומעת קולות בערבית, והבנתי באותו רגע שאני חייבת להחזיק אותה איתי, שלא תזוז לשום מקום, שתישאר בממ"ד.
בשיחה הכתובה הזאת, ברגע הזה, אני לפעמים כן מצליח לעזור להם לעשות שינוי.
We're pleased to welcome David Koren, CEO of ERAN, Israel's leading emotional first aid organization with more than 1,850 volunteers and 13 branches across the country. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
So let's get started by a number that really startled me when I went through the research. 1,000 phone calls per day. How do you identify which cases require immediate intervention, and how do you respond in real time to so many calls on a daily basis?
Okay, the challenge is, yes, it's around 1,000 a day, and the challenge is to know what kind of response we have to give to each and every one of them. But there is no way to know it before you're getting into the conversation with the one who calls us. The minute we're identified somebody that is in a danger or in a critical position, we have a way of how to respond to it. Our, as you mentioned, 1,800 and more volunteers trained to identify those callers, and we are using another professional that is joining the session, and the two of them, sometimes three of them, is following the procedure of how to help this person. And I can tell you that roughly every day we have between 3 to 4 people that were actually saving lives, as I'm usually say, taking them down from the roof.
ERAN has existed for a long time. Take us back to the first year and bring us through some of the numbers that we're looking at today.
Well, ERAN established in 1971.
1971.
71. There
Wow.
wasn't so many phones back then. And it started in Jerusalem. And the first years, I would say the first 10 years or so, I wasn't there, but the first 10 years were the years where another branch and another branch established in Israel, throughout Israel. And let's jump to today. We do have 1,850 volunteers altogether. We do have service also a chat on the internet, chat and WhatsApp and SMS and mail, whatever, with 300 volunteers that only operate on the chat. We crossed the 500,000 and 3,000 and 300,000 already of calls from the beginning of this war, which is
Wow.
unheard of, such a number. And altogether from where we established, we crossed 7 million calls from over the years. But on a regular year, which I'm not sure that there is a regular year in Israel, on a regular year we are having something like around 300,000 calls, which bring us to something like very close to 1,000 a day.
Wow. That's very significant and also very painful to
It is.
understand there are so many people who are calling and to think about all the people who are not calling.
Yeah, and all the calls that we are not able to respond because of lack of support and lack of budget and whatever. And this is our mission.
I understand that the organization has many representatives in North America that work the night shifts. I assume this is to bridge the time difference gap that we have. What does this global support mean to you, and how does it help maintain your 24/7 emotional care that's needed here in Israel?
Well, as you mentioned, we do have some 200 volunteers in the state, actually another 50 in Australia. We're taking advantage of, as you mentioned, the time difference. Some years ago, I think 7 or 8 years ago, I realized that there is no way to bridge the gap between the people who need us at night and the volunteers that are here in Israel. So I reached out to the community of Israelis in the state through the organization of IAC, which helped us a lot to find the communities where we can establish like a course for a decent amount of people that can go through the course, and the course is very extent, very demanding. And the people in the state today and Australia as well, give us the help of between 30 to 40% of the call at night that they're responding from there. And all Israelis, Hebrew speakers, went through the same training procedure as in Israel. And it's a great challenge of how to manage them, because they are part of ERAN organization, which is based in Israel, but they are part of it.
This is genius, and it allows people who really understand and can relate to those who are suffering here in Israel to have an option to speak at night. And I assume that there are a lot of crises at night, and that this is when people have emotional overwhelm. So I understand that you're building an emergency operations and training center in Netanya. This is for immediate crisis intervention. What is the GAP Center? What gap is this center meant to fill? And how urgent would you say that it is today in 2025?
Well, when this war broke out, like almost 2 years ago, unfortunately, we realized that we need a place that we can, in like 20 seconds, not 20 minutes, we can bring 20 more volunteers to respond for the so many callers that are waiting to get respond. And also in the crisis centers that we're putting together, we will be able to train the volunteer in a much more professional way. There will be place for professional gathering, people from all walks of life that can come and we can share with them all kind of method of helping during crisis. And the gap is something that we have to close within the next, I would say, a couple of months in order to put it together. And for this, we need a lot of help from people who can pitch in and help us.
Very interesting. I wonder, during times of war and national crisis, which the state of Israel is in right now, what patterns are you seeing from the phone calls that come in?
First of all, you have to realize that this time there is no way to compare it to any other time that in the past, because the length of this war is so long, and the amount of days that people, the reserve, are serving, and the amount of distress and loneliness and despair that we are getting from the calls, there is no way to compare it with no other time in the past. So we learn it as we go. And we have to train the volunteers as well as our professional teams as we go along. And we are now in the process of training something like 200 more volunteers because we need them on the line very urgently.
Would you say that there's something that's repeating on these phone calls as of late, a similar trend, something that many people are experiencing right now?
Yeah. I would say that despair, loneliness is always there, and also, I don't know how to say it, that it will not be too dramatic, but the need to see some sort of hope for the future. We kind of in a tunnel that many people doesn't see the light that's coming from the other end. And this is something, it's a challenge that we have to face also for our volunteers, because they're coming from the same place. I mean, our volunteers are not in Iceland and not in Norway, they are here in Israel. And some of them have a family that are there, some of them are even soldiers in reserve. So we have to support them like much more than we did in the past.
Absolutely. And you use the word despair.
Yeah.
And despair is when people really can't see the future. They can't see
Right.
the way. They can't imagine what could possibly be good at the end. And I assume, like you said, that your volunteers struggle as well. What do you do? I understand that the training for the volunteers at ERAN is very demanding and serious.
It is.
How do you keep those volunteers engaged and emotionally supported?
Well, the key element here is our professional staff. Our professional staff are people who are really have to be like hands-on to all our volunteers. Like the professional staff that we have in Tel Aviv, for instance, which is not far from here, they have to maintain the 130 volunteers that are every day going through more and more distress call. And each and every one of our volunteers going through a session of training and retraining. The training when you start being a volunteer is not ending for them. They are going to at least once a month for a group session that is very personal, it's very demanding to some extent, and also give them more and more tools for their next shift.
Thank you for explaining that. We are going to finish the program, but before we do, is there a message that you have, any words that you want to share with those who are watching?
I have to say, first of all, that I'm thanking so much for our volunteers. They are really the core support of this for all the people in Israel. And also, we need the support of so many other people to support ERAN, especially these days, because our mission is, in a way, much bigger than we can right now fulfill.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you success.
You're welcome. Thank you.